Okay, welcome to the talking hands portion of the video, and let's go ahead and get started on our first drawing for today. So we're going to be doing something relatively simple. So I've got charcoal, and I'm going to do something that we've done before. I'm going to do one of these. This is just a circle that we've turned into a three-dimensional ball, okay? And it's just using shading to create this 3 dimensions. And we're going to go ahead and get started. But remember, we don't draw around things, we draw the things. So we're going to start with our highlight here. And then, because we know where our light source is coming from, over this direction, we know where the shadow is, this direction. So let's go ahead and get started. So we've got just a nice soft charcoal here, and this is just some newsprint. That's nice practice newsprint. Nothing real fancy, it's just something simple for us. I'm just going to lay this on the side here, so that it's puts down some nice, nothing, no sharp edges. It's just coming off. Okay, real smooth, real smooth. You can see start to already see the texture of the paper there. So smear it around with my finger. There we go. Okay. So I've got my image over here at the side, and I can look at it if I want to, but I'm working this here. And see, I'm already getting my charcoal on here. You got to get a certain amount of charcoal up on your finger so you can start manipulating it. Here we go. So, getting it nice and soft here. So I'm going to start working it back in here. And since this is our light area, I'm going to leave this alone, and I'm going to come back in with my eraser and actually kind of pull out the highlights here. And here we go. Start working my darks. Start working back and forth. Start working the shadow. Start pulling the shadow back and forth. So I've got this nice gradation. Here we go. And just trying to keep a rounded area. And if I'm going outside, that's okay. You know what? Because I can come back in with my eraser and just cut that edge out there. And it doesn't really matter. I can be as messy as I want with my charcoal. Okay? And I get this nice softness. That's the nice part about the charcoal, is it's nice. Gives you this nice soft, but it also gives you these nice rich darks, because that's the joy of the charcoal. Okay? So I'm gonna give myself some nice darks here at the edge of this. And I'm following the contour line, so I've got this kind of rounded edge here, right? Because I'm trying to show the shape of the ball. Because the ball's not flat, it's got this rounded edge to it. So I'm following that. Blowing off some of the charcoal there. I love working with charcoal. Okay. because of how quickly you can get effects and how soft it can be. Okay, so now we've got our sunlight coming this way, which means we've got our shadows over here. Coming out from over here. Now remember, your shadow's going to be, hi sweetie, got a Kit Kat visiting me in my studio today. Yes, I'm getting tippy-tappy down on the leg. So your shadow's going to be going to vary depending on how far, where the light source is coming from. If it's coming up really high like this, your shadow is going to be a lot more underneath. If it's coming out like this, it's going to come out a lot farther. So pay attention to your shadows as you're doing this. Okay. Keep track of your ball shape too. Make adjustments. There we go. That looks a little better there. Okay, maybe a little bit more up here. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to come back in with my eraser. And let's just pull out that. Pull out that edge. See how quickly that comes out? Now let's see, where's my highlight? There we go. Need to pull that up a little bit more. Now I can work it back in if I got it too dark, too light too quickly. Here we go. Do I need a bright light there? There we go, a nice bright highlight. Now I can ease that around a little bit more. Let's continue cutting that out some. So your eraser is just as much of a tool as your drawing, as your other utensils are. Okay. There we go. What do you think about that? Quick and easy. This is a fun little exercise. Okay. There we go. Nice little ball. Got a little hump on my ball right there. There we go. Nice three-dimensional ball. Okay, so now what I want to do is let's go ahead and let's take this and let's do this again in watercolor pencils. There we go. And let's add color to this. So let's flip over to a different medium and let's do the same thing again. Hang on. Okay, so this is the second part, and this is, we're going to do our ball, but we're going to do it in color this time. So these are watercolor pencils, and so these are going to give us a watercolor effect, but we're also going to be drawing with them. So we've got our squirrel mop brush here, and a little bit of water, and we've got a couple of yellows, we've got a purple and a violet, we've got a green, and a couple different colors of blue and a black. And this is just a, it's not a watercolor paper, it's actually just a multimedia paper. So we're just going to use this for our demonstration, and we're going to see how this goes. So we're going to go ahead and just make a yellow ball this time around. So these are just a regular, they're called Design. It's an old company. I'm not even sure you can still get them anymore. I don't recommend one company over the other. I don't get money from one company, so you get whatever company you want. Try them out. Some companies have different hardnesses to their pencils. So, and it just depends on what kind of an artist you are as to how well you like them or that you don't like them. So you need to try them, get small groups of them, see how you like them, try them out. Okay, so I'm gonna just start putting down the yellow. This one is a lemon yellow, and I also have a canary yellow over here. So I think you can just barely start to see that yellow that I'm putting down. Just kind of working it around here. Now, the thing with yellow is that, and I want to, in watercolor, you have to reserve the white. So there is no white in watercolors. So you have to make sure that whatever white area you want, as in your highlight, that is the area that you keep white, because you can't go back in with it. So I'm going to keep my white highlight there. Okay, so I'm going to just work the ball around, the ball shape with my yellow. Okay, now in working with colors, it's a little bit different than just black and white. And with watercolors, in yellows, your first inclination is to go in and say, okay, we're going to darken it, so we're just going to add black. Well, there's a strange thing with the yellows, and that is when you add black in with the yellow, you get a really wonderful khaki green. So that's not really the color we're going for. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to add the opposite of yellow, and the opposite of yellow is purple, which is why we have the purple here. So when you add the complementary of a color, the complements actually cancel out each other, because the complements are actually traveling along the same color wavelength, just completely opposite of what they're actually traveling at. So they tend to cancel out. So when you need to darken a color, then you can add a little bit of their complements in order to start darkening them. So if you notice a little bit, I try not to be going straight lines. I try circular lines. This helps keeping you from getting those line marks that you'll sometimes see when you're, working with watercolors or working with colored pencils, that you'll sometimes see those like gradation marks that get irritating. So let me see if I can actually get like a rounded area here. Something that looks more like because it's really, really hard to actually erase with these pencils. So you kind of have to gauge where you're going with this. Burp. Yep, I've got another Kit Kat helping me out. I got rid of one and now I've got another one. So I'm getting all kinds of help in my studio today. Okay, and remember we're rounding, so we want to make sure we've got that curve that we would have if it was a rounded object. Okay, let's move this out a little bit more. Let's try to keep that rounded shape. Here we go. That's a little bit better. So let's go back to our yellows here. Let's work the lemon yellow in here a little bit more. Pull that up a little bit more. And so the last color you always put on is the last color you're always going to actually see. So I think I got a little bit too much highlight down in here. Let's try to pull some more of this color up a little bit more. Here we go. Okay, let's put a little bit more purple in here. So always and loosely. Don't hold on to it too tightly, okay? Just let it kind of roll across your paper. Okay? If you've had a really bad day and you're all tense about it, this is not the time to be holding on to your pencil really tightly. Okay, you just let it graze across your paper. Okay. So now we're going to start building up some more of this color, because we're going to this is going to start darkening. So this is where our dark shadows are going to start in. Okay. Going to get a little lighter down in through here because we've got a reflected shadow, or reflections coming up from our light over here. So this is going to be a little darker over here. Right? Going to make this a little bit darker over here. Darken this in a little bit more back around here. This is a darker. Okay, let's get some of these. Let's get some of these blues in here. Let's get some of these blues in here. Here we go. This is our indica blue. Here we go. So, the old adage is, of course, is that the warm things come towards us and that cool things go away from us, right? But within that, there is all things, even within a blue, there are warm blues, and within cool colors, within warm colors, there are cool, and with cool colors, there are warms. Did I say that right? I think so. So there are blues, so like the violets here, they're more warmer than the blue is. Does that make sense? So this violet will tend, right here, will tend to bring this more towards us than this blue will. So this blue will push this bulb back farther away from us. So this edge up here, I'm going to put a little bit more blue on, and over in here, that'll help push that back away. Let's put a little more blue over here, not quite as dark. And I don't want to push it up this high because the blue and the yellow will react, and then I'll get, of course, green. I don't want green. I want it to just be a blue ball or a yellow ball. So we're just going to work some of this color in through here, down here on the bottom. Not too dark, because I want it to look like it's bouncing light, but I want it nice and dark over here. So we're dealing with a bunch of different things here. We're dealing with the light and dark, but we're also dealing with our colors too. So things get a lot more complicated when we start switching to the color aspects of drawing. So let's go ahead and let's get some water on this and let's see how we're doing. Now when we're dealing with watercolor pencils, we do tend to actually draw in stages. You don't hit this all at once. And I'm doing this probably way too fast. This is probably about 3 steps way too quick. But let's see how we're doing, okay? And we're probably going to need to let this dry, and then we'll be working on it again. So I've got quite a bit of water on my brush here, okay? And we're just going to go ahead and start working it. So we start from the lighter colors, and then we work towards the darker colors. And if I need to, I can come in and just sop up some of this white, some of this water here to help preserve my lighter colors. So let's work this here and work this back and forth. Here we go. Work these colors, and I'm working, and I've got quite a bit of water here so that I'm working these colors back and forth. Okay. Work this brush all the way around. Now you don't want to stop too much, because if you stop, then you're going to get a bloom. Okay, a bloom, which is pretty much where it just gives you an edge, which is kind of unsightly unless you're actually looking for that. Got just a little bit too much water going on. Okay. So I can pull this color back and forth, and I can go back in, pull this down, work this up. So I've got a wrinkle going on because I've been using too much water here. Pull this back away from here. So it's kind of forgiving. It's a lot more forgiving than just straight up watercolors is. I always tell my students when I'm working with them with watercolors that watercolors is 50% you and 50% the medium. And if you can't give up 50% of your control, then watercolors is not for you. But watercolor pencils is a little bit different of a medium. Okay, so I'm taking off and I'm rinsing my brush, and I'm taking away all of my water so I can actually pull off the excess water off of here. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and then I can come back in and actually work on it some more. So, stages. Always have to work on it in stages, but remember, this is a drawing process, and so we'll get to it again. See you when it's dried. Okay, welcome back. So, managed to let this dry, so it's all nice and dry, and yes, the paper's a little wrinkly. I'm not liking this paper that much, so I'm going to have to actually get me some, I think I'm going to just go back to watercolor paper when I get back to doing this, but we'll continue on. So I've switched to a yellow ochre. This one's a yellow ochre because not all yellows and all purples actually are the complement. So I've got a little bit of a fight going on here. So I've switched to a yellow ochre. So we're going to go ahead and put some yellow ochre over here to help us get a little bit better of a color shift going on here. That looks much nicer. So we're going to go ahead and put some yellow ochre back here, and this will help actually pull this, push this edge back a little bit more. And again, I'm doing circles. That way the grain does not actually show up as I'm drawing. And before I get started when I'm doing this, I always sharpen my pencils. Now I don't do a sharp point on this. I do just take off the wood because I want to make sure that I leave as much of the actual, lead there, because that's the important part. I don't want to actually take off the actual pencil part. Forgive me if I don't talk as much as other people do during their classes. I tend to concentrate a little more when I'm actually working. So here we go with our yellows again. And we're working down into the darker stuff here. Okay, but we still have our nice highlight going on over here. So here we go. Now we're going to come back in with our purple here. And since we're putting on another layer, this is starting to get more intense. So we can come back in with our purple and start working it back in here. And put in more of a layer of darker color. Okay. And come back in with our indigo blue. And you can see I use this one a lot because that one's a lot shorter than all the other ones, isn't it? So start working that in again. Now we don't want the blue to be hitting into this one because that's what's going to give us a green. So we'll start down in here. Now we still want the ball to actually go that way. So I'm going to work a little bit of the purple up in here. Not a lot, just real lightly because we want it to push that way, right? So we want the ball to actually continue to roll that way. So we can use the fact that it is considered a one of those ones that go away. So really, really lightly, just work it back and forth, just a little bit, so that it'll push this edge away from us. Okay, so we don't want it to be too dramatic. Okay, not even sure you can really see it too much in there on the screen. I can see it from where I am, but I'm not sure if you can see it too much where you're at. Okay, let me see if I can zero in there a little bit. Can you see it there a little bit? There you go. You can see it right here on the edge here. See where I just barely went around the edge there? Okay. And let's go out a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So now let's go ahead and gonna feather this blue off a little bit so we don't have such a drastic blue there. Such a drastic blue edge. Let's feather that out a little bit more. Right, so we have a little bit more of a gradation there. There we go. That's a little better. Right. Okay. And now let's go ahead and work our purple. Now let's bring our other ball back here, since this is what we're originally looking at. So we need to have some nice darks up in here, right? So we need it much more darker up in there. There we go. And then ease it off a little bit more over here. There we go. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, so let's go back in with a little bit more yellow ochre. Work a little bit more yellow ochre in this area right here, so that when we go to do our blending, we have lots of yellow ochre in here along this edge, so that this yellow ochre and purple can blend together, so that it actually will blend well in here, so that this will give us a nice blending gradient there. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this yellow ochre up a little bit more. There we go. That's not looking too bad. Okay, so we can do a couple of things now. We can either water this if we wanted to, or we can leave it as is. Because that's the joy of watercolor pencil. It's a pencil, but it's also watercolors. I also, I like to leave the pencil marks because that's the thing about it. It's a pencil, but it's also the watercolors. So you have to find the happy medium between both of them. So let me see, where did I do this? There we go. Okay, so let's add a little bit of water to this. I might put on another layer. I might work a little black into this, and then we're going to put the shadow in. So let's go ahead. Let's work some water into this and see what we get with our colors. And then we'll probably put on our last layer. So let's put some water in and see how we're doing. Okay, so here we go. I got a stray hair coming out there. So remember, lots of good water on here, and here we go. Working out from the light colors, moving quickly, moving quickly. Here we go. Lots of colors. Look at those bright colors. Okay, don't want to hold your brush in any one place too long, because then you're gonna get those blooms. You're gonna get lines, and those are not gonna look nice. Okay. Okay. Now, gonna want to hold your brush. That's how you get your nice edges there. Okay, your nice sharp edges for the edge of your ball. There we go. Clear out your brush. Pull your brush. Don't let your blue get too far up there though. Pull it back, because you don't want to get too much into that other nice color. Here we go. And you can pull your color around, especially with as much color as we've got on here. Look at how nice and dark that is down there. For anyone who's always told you that watercolors don't have nice dark colors, they don't know what they're talking about, do they? Okay, there we go. Got our nice ball shape going on. Okay, here we go. Boy, that's got some pretty colors in it, doesn't it? Okay. Work that out a little bit. There we go. Okay, gonna let that dry. We'll come back in with our final colors. See what we get. Okay, so let's go ahead for our last round. So as I'm looking at this, looks like I've got a little bit of a distortion where my ball got a little bit flat over here, but we'll go ahead and fix that this time around. And my paper is a little bit wrinkled, but when I get done with all of this, I can go ahead and actually take an iron and actually without any steam. I can actually iron this, and actually the heat will actually make it flat again, so I can do that. But let's go ahead and do our last round and finish this off, and then we'll put our shadow in, and then we'll be done with this exercise. So, last little things. So, it's all dry, and actually this is the next day from when I actually started this. So I'm going to go ahead and come back in with a little yellow ochre and kind of intensify some of this color over here, because I'd like to actually kind of intensify it a little bit more over on this edge, I think, and over in here. Yep, I think I like it like that. So this is my first video of many, I hope, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. So the nice thing is that with the pencils I can actually kind of tidy up and sharpen up my edges now, especially since this is my last round. So any of the sloppiness that I had from when I was moving around with my water, I can now tidy up a little bit. And where I got this flatness over here, now I can actually get that going a little bit more. But all this nice color variations here, I don't want to take that out completely, but I do want to actually kind of work some of this pencil in. I want it to actually stay. That's the joy of actually the watercolor and the pencil working together. So I want to keep that. Don't want to lose it all together. So gonna do that, and now I've got some of my purple back in again. Gonna work some of my purple up in here because I want to kind of lost some of my darks up here at the top when I was working the water in. So I'm gonna work that back in and kind of reestablish that. And let's see. So now I'm gonna re-pull that, try to get it a little bit more rounded there. Does that look better? That's a little bit better. How about that? Is that a little bit better? How's that? Yep, that's a little bit better. One more time. One more time, I think. Now, that's the nice thing about when you lay your hand down on your paper and you just move your hand, it will actually go in an arc, so you have a nice little pivot there. There we go. Yep, I think I got it now. There we go. There we go. I got my ball shape back now. So I've got a nice. I got my indigo blue back again, so I can do that nice edge, get that worked back in so it's not a line from where you can see where I've reshaped that. There we go. And work that in again. Pull that back up a little bit more. And then I want to pull some of this down in here where it faded out just a little bit too much. Pull that up. But I'm relatively happy with the way this little shape turned out. I hope you are too. Now this is relatively simple, and it's been relatively easy to do, but it's a nice little exercise, especially if you're not used to watercolor pencils. So I'm coming in with my black, and this is the last one I've done. I always use my black the last because I use the black as like an accent. I always want to use that as the last because I don't want it to muddy up my other colors. I want to use that as like a little last bit. I try not to use that with my water, because it will tend to bleed into my other colors, and then I'll get some real dirtiness in my colors. I want my colors to be vibrant and come forward a little bit. So there we go, there's that. Okay, so now I want to work on my shadow underneath here. So I'm gonna pull this out here. I'm gonna establish where my shadow came out. And here we go. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Shadows there and there. Remember, we don't draw around things. We draw the things. So here we go. We got our shadow, and then here's where the shadow starts coming a little bit lighter and lighter. Now, remember, when the sun comes this way, the shadow's going to come this way, but it's going to be darkest here, and then it's going to fade out a little bit depending on what your shadow looks like. Remember our photo here? We got a little bit of a lighter cast shadow here. It's really dark underneath here, so we're going to really darken it in, really dark over here, and then we're gonna let it fade out a little bit this way, and then I'm gonna do a little bit different technique and show you a little bit different of a technique. Now we want our shadow to show that it's a ball, so we're going to have it in a rounded shape here. So here we go, round and round we go. So here we are. Following the shape, easing it out. So I want this to be just as dark as this is, because I'm working with lost and found edges right now, because I want this to be kind of one of those areas where you're kind of letting your eye figure out where one starts and the other begins. So I'm wanting this to be nice and dark. So I'm coming in with my purple here, and I'm coming up on this edge up here, and I'm trying to concentrate on this more towards the front here. There we go. And this is a blue violet, so this is more of a blue. Okay, work it back there because I want it more blue back there. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my black because I want to kind of lose where this edge is in the back. Okay, right? I don't want you to know exactly where the ball is and the shadow begins. Okay, so I got it nice and dark underneath there. And I've pulled it out just a little bit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some water here. And I've dipped it off just a little bit. So what I want to pull this a little bit, right, to continue the shadow, because I want this to be more of a shadow, but I don't want to continue to take all of it, right? There we go. There we go. Combination of colors there. Pulling that dark out just a little bit more. I want to keep I'm trying to keep the brush or the pencil marks down deep there. There we go. I think I need to trim my brush a little bit because boy, I'm getting some pencil marks or some brush marks in there. There we go. There we are. I'm liking that. There we go. So you can continue to move these around. You can make your shape however you want them. Your shadow. There we go. I'm thinking I like that. So there we go. All ready to sign. Remember, you can, if you're not using a watercolor paper like I did not use, this is a multi-purpose paper, so you can use it for a bunch of different things. This one's gotten kind of wrinkly, so I can wait for it to dry and then take an iron over it and iron it out. Remember, no steam. This is the first of many videos, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I apologize for some of my stuttering and stomping around, but remember, just like I tell all of my students, that you know, you get practice makes perfect with your drawing, and practice makes perfect with my videos. So I apologize, but you know, they're all going to get better, and so I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next one. So thank you, and bye.